Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Taurus Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties, some motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, we're going to talk about the generational planets exaltations. Now, if you're trying to contact me yesterday or whatever like that, you must not be a person who watched my videos, because I off the back told you I'm turning my phone off. You know what I'm saying? If you're a person who know me personally and you try to get in contact with me yesterday, you must not really know me like that, because I told you I'm cutting my phone off. Not being bothered with anybody. Motherfucker, I'm not watching TV. I may watch a few internet videos, mostly my own. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking my ass outside. Now, I'm not gonna talk about that because that's a whole nother video. So you know what I'm saying. And this is another disclaimer too. This is how you know who was vibrating low and who was vibrating high before the actual eclipse. You know what I'm saying? This is how you know where you was vibrating at, right? Now, the harder it was to detach, like you may have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of things you had to do regardless of you putting your energy into that. And then compare that to a person who it may have been easy for them to detach from people. They may have already been a person before the eclipse that people know that I ain't gonna bother that person today, or that person, you know what I'm saying, this, that, and the third, right? So compared to the easier it was to detach from things, that's the higher you was vibrating. The harder it was and the more shit that you had to do that day and the more shit that you probably was doing, you probably was giving all your solar eclipse energy to the phone, to the computer, to the TV, to the people you was talking to, that's the lower you was vibrating. So I definitely wasn't talking to none of those people that day anyway, you know what I'm saying? You got people who was on their phone all day yesterday. So I wasn't attaching no spirits to my shit. So that's a whole nother video. But off the back right now, we're going to talk about the generation. I'm back online right now. You know what I'm saying? The illusion that I think I want to see is getting fulfilled. And now I'm back online. So now we're going to talk about, I ain't even released no videos. Generational planets and the exaltations. Now, the way how you remember now, based upon location and vibration, that's how you know where because a lot of astrologers like to say the generational planets have no exaltations, and then a lot like to say that Pluto isn't even a planet anymore, which it really isn't, but it's still a location. It's still a space within a location. And everything that's in this belt, everything that's in a solar system that has a rotation has an exaltation. Has an exaltation. Otherwise, it would have been flew off. It wouldn't have been a part of our little solar system, our system, but it's part of our system. So when a lot of people like to say Pluto isn't even a planet, but wherever it dissipated at, the energy and the vibration frequency is still there. So it's just going through a transformative process. Keyword, transformation. So that's the energy is carrying anyway. You know what I'm saying? It needs to gain control of the chaos that is going through from this transformation. You know what I'm saying? And just the energy and the light that from that energy vibration, when it hits Earth, that's how it's going to play out through the human existence, through people who may need to transform some way, shape, or form in their life in a deep way, because the planet is deeply out there. It's one of the furthest away planets. You see what I'm saying? But here's a way how you can always remember the exaltations, because based upon the location and it being in this belt, this solar system, right? The exaltation is always going to be in the in conjunction from the sign it rules. Now, in conjunction is the two signs that's in front and behind the opposition. So if Taurus is here, right, and Scorpio is the opposition, then Taurus's in conjunctions is going to be Libra and Sagittarius. Now, how you know which one? How you can always remember the exaltation of the generational planets is always going to be the in conjunction, leaving the trine and not quite making it to the opposition. You see what I'm saying? So it's always the in conjunction, leaving the trine, but never make it to the opposition. So it never makes it to the other trine. So it never makes it to the other in conjunction. So it's in between the trine and the opposition. So that's the in conjunction that the generational planet always going to have. So now let's start with Uranus. Now Uranus rules Aquarius, right? So the exaltation is always going to be in the in conjunction, after the trine, and before the opposition. So when you want to look at Uranus, Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. Now, before we even get into, let's talk about exaltations first, so you get a better understanding. So you don't be like a person who's into astrology and be like, hold on, what is he talking about? Let me break it down for you, so it start to make sense. Now, exaltation in general, I mean, look at it like this. It's like a kid at Disneyland, or a place that you always wanted to be, or somewhere where you imagine yourself. You living in your ego. That's the exaltation. You living in your ego. So you can always exhaust yourself when you're in your exaltation place. When a kid is at home, they get to relax, do what they want to do or whatever like that. But when they go to Disneyland, they get to act out all their imaginations. And they might want to play until they fall out, right? Because they know they have to go back home, right? At home is more comfortable. But here they can do everything that they wanted to do. Same place at a place that you want to do. So if you don't have enough sense to slow down, you can exhaust yourself, wear yourself out, overexpose yourself. You know what I'm saying? We're in areas that you don't need to be. So that's how the exaltation plays out. So it's like where the planet is most happy is at, and get to do everything, overexhaust itself, right? So when you learn how to understand the energies of exaltation, if you have a planet that's in exaltation, these are energies you need to temper down a little bit. But when the time is for it, that's when you can go all out more than anybody else. You see what I'm saying? So if you are a sun, so me, I'm an Aries. Sun is exalted in here. So that's what I have to do with the sun. So if the sun represents actions, the way you see things and how you act, then these are things I have to temper down at sometimes. I have to temper down my actions. I have to temper down the way I see things. Don't just be saying things before I overanalyze it sometimes. You see what I'm saying? Don't just be acting on things. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times it's due to how I see and how I feel about things. The moon is exalted in Taurus. Right? So what's the moon? The moon is who you are, your emotional stance, your emotional reaction on things. So it can exhaust itself in Taurus. You can react to too much materialistic things. You can react to value too much, to the point that you value a person, a place, or thing too much. You can exhaust yourself into these things, into even being a crutch at times, being too supportive of others. You see what I'm saying? Mercury is exalted in Venus, and we can go down the line. Let me do this. Mercury is exalted in Venus. So the way you think, communicate, and analyze, you need to temper that down sometimes, because sometimes you can overthink, overanalyze. See what I'm saying? Over criticize. See what I'm saying? And it can play out in your nerve system. So when you have exaltated planets in your chart, you play this out to the max. But your sign play each characteristic out in general. For an example, like the way astrologers come to the conclusion of understanding signs is by the location. And the location is representing all the vibrations and frequencies that is involved with. So first is the houses, right? Houses. So the first house. The houses rule the signs. So the first house is the I am. So it's the personal house. So it's the house dealing with your life situation, that's dealing with your personality, personal issues, and personal affairs, personal people, places, and things. Now, that house rules Aries. Aries is cardinal fire, initiating and creating new ways of how to see and how to feel about things, right? So when you put these two together, right, and then Aries is ruled by Mars, intent, willpower, passion, and motivation, right? Pluto is exalted here. Now we're gonna get into how this is how the whole mechanism plays out. Now, when you put all these together, right, you come out with the energy of Aries all together. So this is what compact Aries. Now, when Aries have Mars in Aries, or the Sun in Aries, or you know what I'm saying, that's when it plays out more prominently. But you already naturally carry these traits. Now, let's get into the actual exaltations. Now, Uranus rules Aquarius, so it's exalted in it rules Aquarius, so it's exalted in Scorpio. See what I'm saying? Because it leaves Libra, right? That's the trine, and it goes into Scorpio, and it's before the other in conjunction, which is Sagittarius. Because Aquarius in conjunctions is Virgo, Scorpio, right? So I told you how to remember the inconjunctions. They're after the trine and before the opposition. See what I'm saying? After the trine, before the opposition. So if Uranus rules Aquarius, the trine is Libra, and the in conjunction is Scorpio. See what I'm saying? Now, and did I say Sagittarius? I didn't mean to say Sagittarius. I meant to say Virgo. I think I did say Virgo though. That's the two in conjunctions of Aquarius. So what happens here is Uranus loves to be in Scorpio. You see why? You want to know why? Because it's able to change here. It's able to go through changes. It's able to rebel against something. It's able to oppose something the way it never did before. You see what I'm saying? And it's able to be unique and original in its own space. Because what is Scorpio? Fixed water. Being fixated on its own emotions and feelings. Right? So by Scorpio being fixated on its own emotions and feelings, Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. So Pluto represents transformation. So Scorpios is in constant need of transformation to transform their emotional stance on things, right? And then it's ruled by Mars. So it do that in an intense and passionate way. So a lot of times it brings that transformation, that intenseness goes deep. So they have passions for their own emotions and feelings, right? And with Uranus here, they're able to change. They're able to change, melt that ice, let the ice be water again, rebel, oppose. This is why a lot of times they be negative. See, the negative don't come from Pluto. It come from the exaltation of Uranus. Pluto is not always negative. It always deal with control issues. So a lot of times they're trying to gain control of their own emotional stability. So a lot of times they can control your emotional stability, but and manipulate you. But a lot of times they know how to do it with love. See, so a lot of times that's not hatred, but a lot of times you may pick up that energy of hate, like that energy of negativity or whatever like that. A lot of times that's this Uranus, because the exaltation of Scorpio, if they want to go through, they go through changes. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times they feel like they have to go through changes. They have to oppose things in order to get things right with themselves. Like it might be an emotional stance on something that they have, right? And then a person may come around that make them feel a certain type of way about themselves. So a lot of times they feel like they have to emotionally attack that own feeling that they feel about themselves in order not to feel vulnerable again. So they may do certain actions and play and change up on people, and you know what I'm saying, and oppose certain emotions and feelings, and oppose certain people that make them feel a certain way, even if this person didn't even know they made them feel this way. You know what I'm saying? This person made this thing, oh, this is my friend, but the Scorpio may be looking at them like, okay, this person is carrying a vibe that I gotta go against, and that's the only way I can gain control and gain my vulnerability back. You see what I'm saying? So it goes deep in the psyche. Now let's talk about Neptune. Neptune rules Pisces, so the exaltation is Leo, because it's leaving Cancer and it's going into Leo, and it didn't quite make it to Virgo, the opposition. So what happens here is Neptune is exalted in Leo. This is why Leo is the fire sign of dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination. You see what I'm saying? Because they like center stage fantasy, right? And they have an imagination, and they have a lot of dreams. And a lot of times they like to play the role of the illusion that they create for themselves. And since they already have an ego, that illusion, that illusion that they create, they like to play that role. They like to express it. So they bring their visions out through their expressions and their actions and how they see things. You see what I'm saying? So with Neptune being in Leo, it loves to be there because it gets to act out all things, because Leo is fixed fire, being fixated on its own way of seeing and its own way of feeling about things. So with Neptune here, it gets to not care how other people feel about its dreams, illusions, creativity, imagination, and it gets to express it without the emotion part there, because water and fire is the feelers, right? But they feel in two different ways. Fire feeling sees, which is visions, and once a vision is there, you like to express it, so you express what's going on internally, externally. And water is the feelings and the emotions. They feel something and they like to soak in what they feel, which is emotions, to understand the circumstances and the surroundings of it, to know what to express and what not to express effectively. So a lot of water signs can be reserved. So with Neptune being at home in Pisces, a lot of times it's like it care how other people feels and other people's emotions. So it's like at home, it gets to sometimes go into its own world, but also have to relate its own world to others, and may not know how to do that a lot of times. So it can't do it through words, it do it through art. With Leo here, It's the fire and seer. So it's like Neptune being at Disneyland. It's like, I don't give a fuck right now. Everybody can see me. Everybody can see my dreams, illusions, creativity, imagination, and fantasy. You see what I'm saying? And they can see it in a broad way because it's fire. And fire brings light and spirit, so people can see and insight. You know what I'm saying? So it's able to even be seen. Sometimes it can't even be seen in Pisces. It can only be felt because it's at home. It's inside. It's inside a home at Neptune. So it can't even be seen unless somebody paint their house in a certain way that people can see the creative aspects of whoever live inside that house. They have to do it in that way. But in Leo, it's the fire outside. So Neptune like, hey, everybody can see me now. I'm not inside. I'm out now. Everybody can see these dreams. And I don't give a fuck how y'all feel about it. You see what I'm saying? So it even gains attention. Key word, attention. Leo loves attention for what they can do, for their dreams, their imagination, their creativity. You see what I'm saying? So that's how it plays out in Leos in general, whether you got it in exaltation or not. But you're gonna share that energy because that's the planet. That was the planet's travels before you was even here. So you're made up of all that makeup. You see what I'm saying? Now let's go to Pluto. Now, Pluto exaltation. Now, when we go with the generational planetary exaltations, we don't calculate those the same way we calculate the planets that's closer to Earth. That's why a lot of planets that's closer rule 2 signs, because of how we perceive them from where they at. The further away, we can't perceive them like that. So we can't be saying they rule 2 signs. We can only say, as a generational planet, it's a home and it's an exaltation. So if there's an away and there's a fall also, but we're just talking about exaltations right now. Now, as far as Pluto is exalted in motherfucking Aries. You see what I'm saying? So because look, it rules Scorpio, it leaves the trine, which is Pisces, going to Aries, and before it reaches the opposite, Taurus. So Pluto is exalted in Aries. So when you look at Aries, that's like Pluto being that it can exhaust itself. You see what I'm saying? Because look, you got Aries, cardinal fire, initiating and creating new ways of how to see and how to feel about things. So with Pluto here, Pluto, that's control. Pluto gets to transform. It gets to transform how you may see something. It gets to transform how you may feel about something. You know what I'm saying? So Aries love to do that. Aries love when they get to have their insight, how they see it, how they feel about things, and then even get proved to be right. Because a lot of times what they see and how they feel is something is initiating something new. It's new. You see what I'm saying? And it's transformative. So it's like and Aries love to go through transformative periods and intensity. You know what I'm saying? Intense. And that's Pluto all day, and it gets to be super intense in Aries because Aries is cardinal fire. So when a person is too busy trying to initiate and create new ways of how to see and how to feel about things, it's going to be intense because it's going to be striking the way someone else sees something or how someone else feel about something. And how you see and how you feel about something, that's part of you. That's part of who you are. That's part of the I. The I am, that's part of your personality. That's why it's so strong. Aries is in the first house. So that's personality. So a lot of times it's initiating and creating changes of how to see and feel about personal things. Personality. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times it could get intense. A lot of times this is what makes Aries like to control other people, control other people's personal affairs, personal situations. You see what I'm saying? And Aries think they got the power to do that, and they do it intensely. A lot of times, sometimes it's too intense. You gotta be like, man, calm down, calm down. See, a lot that don't come from just Mars or the sun. You know what I'm saying? The sun that makes Aries want attention. The sun is exalted here too. Pluto loves to follow the sun. So the sun makes Aries like attention, but want to be insightful and want to you know what I'm saying, shine. Mars make you want to do that around desire, passions, and motivations, and Pluto makes Aries always want to transform that. So when something they desire or passionately want don't seem to be working, they transform. They transform that. Keep trying new shit. Transform. You know what I'm saying? And it become intense a lot of times because it's a lot of stumbles and falls there. And it could be aggressive because of Aries. So it could be aggressive changes, aggressive transformations, aggressive control. You see what I'm saying? They try to control shit aggressively. You know what I'm saying? Then they have desire and willpower and passion for their deep desires, willpower, deep desires, deep willpower, deep passions. Because Pluto is everything of Mars on the deep end. Mars would be like, where we going out to eat today. Pluto is like, where we going grocery shopping for the rest of the month. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times that's why Aries is selfish, because they desire their deep desires. So a lot of times they don't even have time to lighten up and help someone else for surface level desires, because they go deeply inside for their own shit. So they're just passionately absorbed into their own shit. You see what I'm saying? So, and then when you want to look at the falls, like Pluto, so if it's exalted in Aries, it falls in Libra. This is why Libras hate intense moments. They run away from intense moments. They like things to be light. They don't like things to be that dark, that too serious, that controlling. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna flee away. Air like to escape. So anytime you try to put air in a bubble or whatever like that, shit, it's gonna find a way to escape. You can't control, or you can't control. The Libra don't like being controlled. You see what I'm saying? They can relate to you all day, but as soon as the moment you try to place that control, power over them, every moment is intense. We always got to go through some intense shit. We always got to transform. We always got to change. You know what I'm saying? We always got to oppose. We always got to, everything got to be dark. You know what I'm saying? Nah, you know what I'm saying? Libras don't like that. Pluto falls here. You see what I'm saying? You want to look at Neptune. Yeah, look at Neptune. If it's exalted in motherfucking Leo, it falls in Aquarius. Aquarius ain't all into spirit and fantasy and dreams like that, and imagination and creativity, right? They're gonna try to analyze that shit. A lot of Aquarius ideas and thoughts to them is real. They gonna try to analyze and organize that shit. They don't. Aquarius is not looking at their dreams and fantasies like their dreams and fantasies. Aquarius is looking at dreams and fantasies like, wait a minute, let me think about this shit. This is some shit I can actually organize and communicate and actually bring into some logical shit. You know what I'm saying? And bring this shit together. And a lot of times this would make them unique and original, but kind of odd, because when they do give that information to others, it make people feel like, man, those is just dreams, illusions and fantasies and shit. But see, Neptune falls here. So Neptune is sleep. So Neptune is not awake. So it's not being seen like it's dreams, illusions, creativity. Aquarius is taking their natural energies, which is Uranus and air and Saturn, and coming up with the reality of what's fallen, the dreams, illusions, and creativity. So they'll talk to you all day like their imagination ain't an imagination. And they could come up with the best wording and sense in the world, to the point that you just looking at this person like, man, this is a very unique and original person right here. You see what I'm saying? That's how it plays out. Then you talk about motherfucking that was Neptune, fucking Uranus. Since Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, it falls in Taurus. What does Taurus hate most? Changes. You know what I'm saying? Tauruses love to be stable. Come on, they like to be stable. We got to work together. Let's build on this. And if it ain't working, let's just work on it a little longer. And if this shit just ain't working, let's not stop working on this until we find something else to work on. Because we just can't stop working on this and just not have nothing until we work on something else. Boom. That's key Taurus mind. So when Uranus falls here, Uranus. Taurus hates changes. Taurus hate rebellion. Like, why is you rebelling against what's going on right now? They hate opposition. They're like, all right, can we just do this together, or let me do it by myself so we can practically get this together? You always got opposing ideas. You always got rebellion ideas. And we just need to work on it till we perfect it. Taurus hate that. Then Taurus is like to be a part of things too. That's what people don't know. So anytime you too unique, you just too original. In the Taurus mind, that's not being unique and original. That's just you trying to separate yourself. And Earth is part of the land, so it's part of connection. So when Taurus is being fixated, it builds and holds together. Like Capricorns, they draw the blueprint. Tauruses build it. Virgos analyze it to see if it's perfect. You see what I'm saying? So if Taurus is the building itself, it's the stable firm. You can't move it. So anytime you try to be like a small brick that try to separate itself from the overall building, it's not looking at you like, oh, this is the one unique and original brick right here. This is good. No, it's looking at you like, why is you trying to separate yourself? Without being apart, we all can fall. You see what I'm saying? The stability might be off. Foundation might be off. And based upon your ass wanting to be separate, your ass not wanting to go alone, your ass not wanting to be practical, your ass not wanting to think, your ass not wanting to use your common sense. Without all the fucking bricks, the whole building can fall, dumbass. You see, I'm metaphorically talking, but see, that's how Tauruses see it. From if you a person who's doing that in any life type of situation, and does it, you know what I'm saying? You could be a person who's everything got things working, and we got everything working in the back. But you want to be the person who want to go add some water onto something. You know what I'm saying? And it don't even make sense. Yeah, you might be unique and original to somebody else, but to the Taurus, you setting yourself apart, and Tauruses would do something about that practically. You know what I'm saying? They would put another brick there and Leo ass somewhere else out to be brickless, to be buildingless. Just a lonely brick out there. You see what I'm saying? If you get my metaphor, but that's how it plays out. And that's how it can make sense to you, so you can know how that's actually the exaltations and these actually the fall, because it is. But Flight Boss, bitch, you know, for sure, goddamn, hey.